Alright, hello. Welcome everyone. I am Darkside Phil and welcome to the stream. This is a special stream, an interesting one. One that certainly will be a little different because this is going to be the conclusion of a 7-year ongoing epic project, ongoing epic saga, if you will. A little game by the name of Street Fighter 4, which has been out for 7 years, and I've played every iteration of it over those years, although sometimes I was way more into the game than others. Well, I'm actually going to turn off the air conditioner while I do my intro here. And, I'm very excited for today's stream for multiple reasons. So first of all, thank you. This is the intro to my final set, my final official set of Street Fighter 4 ever. Now, just to make this perfectly clear, by no means am I saying that I will never, ever play Street Fighter 4 again. What I'm saying is I will probably never hold another main session of Street Fighter 4 again, okay? You won't see me, going out of my way and say, oh, Street Fighter 4 Sundays or anything like that. As of today, July 19th, 2015, at least for my purposes, I am officially announcing the conclusion of my Street Fighter 4 coverage. Every once in a while, if I do some kind of a special event or something like that, you may see me play Street Fighter 4 again. But for my official stuff, I probably will not be doing any more Street Fighter 4. Now, there's multiple reasons for this, okay? Number one, because the game is 7 years old, and at this point, Capcom announced there's not going to be any further updates. They're not going to patch the game. They're not adding any more characters. The game is officially dead from a content standpoint as of now. In fact, it's been dead from a content standpoint as of December of 2014. So that's number one. Number two, and this is probably the bigger and more major reason, because Street Fighter V is on the horizon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, after 7 years, Street Fighter 4 is being retired, per se, and people will be doing Street Fighter V as a main game coming up once it's released. Now, later this week, this Thursday, for those of you who don't know, will be the premiere of the Street Fighter V beta for those who pre-ordered the game from various outlets like GameStop or on PlayStation Network. The beta's coming out, and I'm going to be playing it for 5 straight days. And I'm excited. I'm excited to get my hands on a new Street Fighter game. It's going to be fun because Street Fighter 4, I actually played the game a lot earlier than a lot of people in the United States had the opportunity to, because there was an arcade in Massachusetts called Tokyo Game Action at the time that actually had the game on arcade cabinets because it was out in Japanese arcades before it was actually ported to the consoles. And if you're actually watching the intro montage of artwork right now on the screen, you can see bottom left-hand corner, there I am. That is a photo from 2008. All right, now it's gone. But you'll see as the artwork scrolls through here, that's a photo of me in 2008, a much larger me, playing the game at Tokyo Game Action on launch day. And I actually, on that day, the first day that I had played it, with playing with E Honda, had some 80, I think it was like 89 wins or 92 wins, something like that. I had an insane win streak. I almost maxed out the win counter. I played for about 5 hours straight because the arcade was packed because people wanted to play this game. And then it was actually my friend Nestor who had actually played the game as well because he knew people who had the Japanese version of it. And he had played it already, and he came in and he beat me in a very close match. And that was my first experience with Street Fighter 4 that weekend. And then it was actually, later on that I got the game on consoles in 2009 when it was released for home versions, and I played the hell out of it. And as I've said before, it was actually Street Fighter 4 was the game that really brought my YouTube popularity into the mainstream. It was Street Fighter 4, because before then I'd messed around with different games. I had done silly playthroughs. A lot of the times it was dicking around. It was me drinking and then playing games. But it was really Street Fighter 4, a game where I had a competitive background in Street Fighter, where I was able to jump into the game and, for the most part, do better than the vast majority of people who were playing the game just because of my knowledge of fundamentals. Now, understand, by no means am I ever going to say that I was a high tournament level competitor. You know what I mean? Absolutely not. I liked the game, but there were a lot of things that held me back from being a high-level tournament competitor. Even though I did try to attend tournaments, I owned the game on multiple consoles. I even ran tournaments for Street Fighter 4. When the game first came out, Vanilla is what they like to call it. Street Fighter 4 Vanilla, the first iteration of the game, was very unbalanced. There were many balancing problems. In fact, Sagat was an incredibly easy-to-use character who had way overpowered stuff where he could trade a move and then hit you with a full Ultra for near 50% damage. And it was an incredible bullshit comeback mechanic. He was a very low-risk, high-reward character versus a lot of the other characters were the opposite. You could play with them at a high level, but, it would actually be very high-risk reward versus Sagat was kind of easy mode. And I found many of the times that I entered tournaments, it was always Sagat, and he was kind of the bane of my existence when the original version of Street Fighter 4 was released. And then, of course, subsequently, other versions of Street Fighter 4 were released, and I did play them, but I kind of fell out of love, because, as you know, I was doing this thing on YouTube. I was doing this, different kinds of gameplay and different kinds of stuff on YouTube outside of just Street Fighter, even though I did actually enjoy playing Street Fighter 4. I didn't want it to become the end-all and be-all of my YouTube existence. I actually found that playing a wide variety of games, role-playing games, action games, shooter games, puzzle games, every kind of game actually was enjoyable to me, and people loved to see me play a wide variety of games. Even though probably Street Fighter was the one that I had the most competitive experience in, I didn't want to become one of these Street Fighter heads. And, let's face it, over the years that Street Fighter 4 has existed, right? There's people who you can easily pull out, Mike Ross, Gutex, Maximilian. These are people who, before Street Fighter 4, no one knew who the hell these people were, right? But then over the years, these guys focused primarily on fighting games, and they became huge names in the YouTube gaming community because of their exclusive coverage of Street Fighter and Capcom and other fighting games as well. Maximilian covers freaking everything, but, those guys focused primarily on fighters. I didn't want to do that. As much as I liked fighting games, I was like, I don't want to be the guy who has to travel to every tournament, who, is always covering fighters, who drops everything for fighters. I wanted to cover the major games. I wanted to be a more well-versed, more well-rounded person. And I do feel that I've done that, especially in recent years. The wide variety of games and things that I've covered certainly shows that I have widened my belt, you know what I mean? And that I am, adept at least playing and being entertaining, playing a wide variety of games. But I would be remiss, and I would certainly be a liar and not giving credit where credit is due if I didn't admit that Street Fighter 4 was the game that gave me my big credibility on YouTube, okay? It did. And I hate to say, I think a lot of Street Fighter exclusive people who stuck with Street Fighter and fighting games in particular over the years kind of resent me for that. They look at me and they say, here's a guy who was good at Super Turbo, and yeah, he was known in Street Fighter over the years as kind of a troublemaker. Then he basically quit playing in tournaments, yet he got huge notoriety for playing Street Fighter 4, and then he basically quit Street Fighter 4 and went on to other stuff, yet this guy still is able to make money and have a living doing YouTube videos, and that's not fair. And a lot of people in the Street Fighter community resent me for that. And you know what? It is what it is. Seriously, it is what it is. There's going to be some people who like me and some people who hate me for various reasons. I really have no ill will towards anyone during the fight in the fighting game community, and I'd like to make that abundantly clear right here. There's no one who I like, oh my god, they've talked shit about me over the years and I hate them. I could care less, To each their own. And if they've stuck with Street Fighter and or fighting games and that's kind of been their thing, awesome for them. For me, I certainly wanted to spread my horizons and do different things. And not to say that I don't enjoy fighting games, because I do, but this has not been my primary focus. So today is kind of almost a celebration. Today is a 7-year celebration. 7 years of Street Fighter 4, playing the final version of the game, Ultra Street Fighter 4. A few things, I am actually playing this on PS3. And I know a lot of people might say, Phil, why the hell are you playing this on PlayStation 3? We now know that this is the worst version of the game overall. Well, a couple things. Number one, it's kind of funny because I agree with you. The PlayStation 3 version of Street Fighter 4 has always been the worst version. It has the most input delay. And people who were in the know back in the day when Street Fighter 4 came out on consoles for years said, why does Evo play on PlayStation 3? It's the worst version. If you play on Xbox 360, you could tell there's less input delay. Well, Evo, for years, said, well, no, we're going to use PlayStation 3, so that's kind of basically the tournament standard, and tons of tournaments used PlayStation 3 because of that, regardless of the fact that years later, they actually did the scientific testing and said, no, actually, the Xbox 360 version is better. That's because Evo basically had a partnership with Sony and got paid off by Sony and used the inferior version because they got kickbacks and stuff to, you know, they had PlayStation 3s donated by Sony and they had promotion by Sony, so of course they went ahead and used the inferior version. But I digress. You know, now they use Xbox 360 because the tournament has grown so huge, primarily because of the resurgence of fighting games, because of Street Fighter 4. Now they don't care. They make enough money that they could use the better version, which they do. But I'm playing this on PlayStation 3 primarily today because I actually just recently purchased a Hori Real Arcade Pro 4 Kai joystick. And this is a new joystick that I want to get used to playing with. And today's 3-hour Street Fighter 4 stream is going to be, that's kind of the goal here, even though it's going to be fun to mess around with different characters and experience the game, you know, on an online setting for the final time. Primarily what I just want to do is get used to this joystick and get used to playing it, because later this week, as I already said, the Street Fighter 5 beta is going to be released. And I want to get used to playing on this new joystick in time for that beta. So this is my warm-up session, per se. I already actually played Street Fighter, this game, Street Fighter 4 and Mortal Kombat 10 on this joystick on Friday, just for a little bit. It was like about an hour a game. Today's going to be a little bit more. Now, I want to say this. I'm sure there's going to be people saying, Phil, play with this character. Phil, play with that character. Phil, do this, do that. That is not the purpose of today's stream. Today's stream, I just want to kind of have a little bit of fun and play with a variety of characters, even though you might say, I really wish Phil would have played with this character. I might not. I don't know who I'm going to play with today. It all really depends on what I feel, and I'm definitely going to play with my main Ryu, and probably mess around my old mains, such as Zangief and Blanca and characters like that. I may mess around a little bit with joke characters like Dan or Hakan, and I might want a little bit of variety, and even pick some characters like Guile and stuff like that. But don't expect me to see me be playing, oh, Phil didn't pick Rolento. No, because I only played with Rolento basically once, back when Ultra Street Fighter 4 was released a year ago, and I really don't remember much about him. And, you know, I'm probably going to be sticking to my mainstays, the older characters, the classic characters. And I'll do a little bit of variety, but understand that, you know, I'm just going to be trying to have as much fun as possible here and a good send-off. And I even said on Twitter, today is basically the absolute final time we'll hear the shitty Indestructible theme. So here it is. Alright, that's enough of that. I don't know what was happening back in 2007, 2008 when Street Fighter 4 was being finished up and polished and being ready for release in arcades. But whoever the hell's idea it was at Capcom to have Indestructible, a J-pop song, be the theme of Street Fighter 4, boy, were they stupid. And how funny was it that within 2 versions, it was actually Super, and then it was after Super Street Fighter 4, the next version, what was it, Arcade Edition, they removed the song completely from the game. Because after having the 2 initial versions of the game, they got rid of them and said, we don't want this shit anymore. And they redid it with more of a different soundtrack and stuff like that. I actually said it, if you go back in time to 2009, when I actually reviewed Street Fighter 4, it was my major point, my major negative about the game was the theme song was terrible. So, let us say today's a momentous occasion for many reasons. We say goodbye to Indestructible for the final time. We don't ever have to hear that horrendous song again, and God, please, don't let them use another horrible fucking theme song for Street Fighter 5. Do something different. Do something entertaining that people will like. We say goodbye to 7 years of Street Fighter 4 gameplay. And we get ready to move on to the next later this week, the Street Fighter 5 beta, which I am super pumped for, which is why I'm doing this, another major reason I'm doing this right now. So thank you if you're watching on streams. Thank you if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who's watched my Street Fighter 4 content over the years. I want to say thank you for being patient with me, for not being necessarily the best player, even though I had potential at times to be good. I did other stuff. Thank you for putting up with my rage, although some people like the fact that I rage and I talk shit online. I don't know how much of that we're going to have today. I'm sure there'll be some frustration because of the input delay, and the online play is pretty terrible in Street Fighter 4 in particular on the PlayStation 3. But that's really not what this is about. It's just a celebration of the end of an era and moving into a new era and getting that going. Okay? So thank you. Without further ado, let us end this intro and let's get started with Street Fighter 4 online gameplay. Thank you for 7 awesome years, and away we go.